The blessing is bigger than you imagined. Get ready, beloved. You stand on the edge of something greater than your mind can comprehend, something that your past cannot measure, and something that your present cannot contain. Life has whispered to you promises that felt too big, too distant, almost impossible, yet deep within your spirit you know they are real. The blessing that is unfolding for you is not ordinary. It is not limited to your current resources, your connections, or your understanding. It is bigger than the pain you endured, bigger than the setbacks you faced, bigger than every limitation others placed upon you. This blessing has been written into the fabric of your destiny long before you could see it, and now the heavens are declaring, get ready. What is about to manifest will not just meet your needs, it will overflow, break boundaries, and elevate you into a place you once only dreamed of. The unseen blessing already exists. The greatest revelation one can ever receive is this: the blessing you are waiting for already exists. It is not being created in this moment. It is already finished, already written, already complete in the unseen realm. What you call a promise is simply the unveiling of what has always been yours. We tend to live as though the blessing is something distant, something in the making, something that requires time and effort to form, but in truth it has already been prepared. Your spirit knows this, even if your senses resist it. Faith is not about hoping something will happen one day. Faith is the inner assurance that it is done, it is sealed, it is waiting to break through into your experience. When you understand this, your posture toward life changes. No longer do you beg for blessings, no longer do you chase them. Instead, you awaken to them. You begin to realize that every longing you hold within is proof of a reality that already exists in the unseen. If you hunger for more, it is because more has already been given. If you dream of better, it is because better has already been prepared. If your heart aches with desire for change, it is because change is already accomplished in the eternal. The challenge is not whether the blessing exists, but whether you can align your inner vision with it. The unseen realm is more real than the visible, for everything you now touch and see was once invisible. The chair you sit on, the house you live in, the clothes you wear, all were once only ideas, thoughts, and possibilities. What you call reality is simply yesterday's unseen now made visible. In the same way, your blessing, though invisible now, is as real as the ground beneath your feet. To live by faith is to walk with confidence in that unseen reality, knowing that it is already finished. When you begin to live with this awareness, you stop doubting and start resting. You stop asking when and start declaring now. You stop focusing on lack and start living in abundance. Imagine a traveler standing at the train station. The train is already scheduled, already set on its tracks, already in motion from one destination to the other. The traveler does not have to build the train or create the tracks. All they must do is stand ready, ticket in hand, and wait for its arrival. Such is the blessing in your life. It is already in motion, already on its way. You need not stress about how it will arrive or who will deliver it. You only need to remain in position, rooted in faith, refusing to be moved by appearances. Too often we miss what is ours because we are blinded by what we see. The visible shows lack, delay, or struggle, and we conclude that the blessing is absent. But the truth is, appearances deceive. Behind the curtain of the visible is a greater story, one in which your blessing is already guaranteed. Think of the seed in the soil. When you plant it, nothing seems to happen. The ground looks the same, the earth is quiet, and the surface appears unchanged. Yet beneath the soil, life is stirring, roots are forming, growth is taking place. The absence of evidence above does not mean the seed is dead. It means the process is hidden. So it is with your blessing. Just because you do not yet see it does not mean it does not exist. The unseen is alive, active, and moving. Patience is not passive waiting, it is confident knowing. It is the assurance that the unseen blessing is at work even now. Many limit themselves because they believe blessings are earned by struggle, toil, or human calculation. They think they must work harder, prove themselves, or beg God for favor, but the unseen blessing is not a reward for effort, it is an inheritance. An inheritance is not achieved, it is received. You do not strive for it, you simply step into it when the time is right. The promise is already yours. The challenge is whether you can accept that it is so. Your mind will argue, your senses will resist, and your circumstances may laugh at the thought of abundance when you are surrounded by lack. But the unseen blessing is not determined by circumstances, it is determined by divine decree. When you anchor yourself in that truth, your circumstances begin to shift to match your inner conviction. Consider this: when you order something online, you pay for it, receive confirmation, and wait for delivery. You do not question whether the package exists. You know it is already processed. You may not yet hold it in your hands, but you trust the unseen system that guarantees its arrival. If you can trust an earthly system created by men, how much more should you trust the eternal system created by God? Your blessing has already been confirmed, already packaged, already shipped from the unseen realm. The delivery may not align with your expected timing, but it is on its way. To doubt it is to return the package before it even arrives. To believe it is to prepare your life to receive it with joy. And here lies the deeper mystery. The unseen blessing is often bigger than what you asked for. What you imagine is only a shadow of what has been prepared. The mind asks for enough to survive, but the spirit knows it was designed to overflow. You may ask for a small door to open, but what has been written for you is a gate. You may seek a single breakthrough, but the unseen has woven multiple breakthroughs into your path. That is why faith must stretch beyond your reasoning. The blessing is not designed to fit into the small box of your expectations. It is designed to break the box altogether. When it comes, it will shake the foundations of what you thought was possible. This is why preparation matters. If you believe the unseen blessing already exists, you will begin to prepare as though it is already yours. A woman expecting a child prepares a room before the baby is born. She does not wait until she sees the child to buy clothes or build the crib. She prepares in faith because she knows the child exists, even if unseen. In the same way, you must prepare for the blessing you do not yet see. Speak as though it is yours, walk as though it is done, and live as though it is real because it is. The unseen responds to the posture of your heart. When you move in expectation, you draw the invisible into visibility. So, beloved, let your heart be anchored in this truth. You are not waiting for a blessing to be made. You are waiting for a blessing to be revealed. Every desire in your heart is proof of a divine promise already completed. Every dream that haunts your nights is evidence of a reality that exists in the unseen. Do not doubt, do not shrink back, and do not settle. The unseen blessing is not small, not delayed, not uncertain. It is alive, ready, and greater than you imagined. Your task is simple: believe it, receive it, and prepare for it. For the unseen blessing already exists, and soon it will break into your life with power, abundance, and glory beyond anything you have ever known. Imagination is the seed of manifestation. Everything you will ever hold in your hands first began in the unseen chamber of your mind. The world you walk in today is the fruit of the pictures you carried yesterday. The invisible power of imagination is not child's play, nor is it fantasy. It is the womb of creation itself. Nothing comes into being without first being imagined. A house begins with an image in the architect's mind. A book is born from the images an author holds before words are written. Even the greatest inventions of history were once no more than flickers of imagination in the minds of men and women who dared to believe what others could not see. So it is with your blessing. If you dare to hold the image within with conviction, clarity, and persistence, it will one day manifest before you. The blessing that seems far away will begin to take shape because you planted its seed within the fertile ground of your imagination. Understand this: imagination is not a weak power, it is not an idle daydream, it is the divine tool placed within you to co-create with God. You were never meant to live as a passive recipient of life's blows. You were meant to be an active participant in shaping your destiny. Every time you sit quietly and envision yourself healed, free, successful, loved, and abundant, you are sowing seeds into the invisible soil of reality. Those seeds, watered by faith and nurtured by persistence, cannot fail to bear fruit. Too often people sabotage themselves because they allow their imagination to be filled with fear, doubt, and failure. They rehearse worst-case scenarios, they picture disappointment, and then they wonder why such things appear in their lives. The truth is simple. Imagination always produces after its kind. If you plant seeds of fear, you reap a harvest of fear. If you plant seeds of faith, you reap a harvest of blessing. The imagination is neutral in its power. It will manifest whatever seed you choose to sow. The tragedy is that many have neglected this sacred gift. They let circumstances dictate the pictures they hold instead of daring to create new pictures within. If the bank account is empty, they imagine more emptiness. If relationships are broken, they imagine more heartbreak. If doors are closed, they imagine rejection. But to those who understand the mystery, imagination becomes the tool that reverses every appearance. You may see lack, but if you dare to imagine abundance, the seed of abundance is planted. You may see sickness, but if you dare to imagine health, the seed of healing begins to grow. You may see despair, but if you dare to imagine joy, joy is already on its way. The blessing is not birthed in your outer world first, it is birthed in the inner sanctuary of imagination. Think of the farmer. He does not stand in the barren field and cry out for harvest without first planting seeds. He does not say, "I will believe when I see crops." Instead, he knows that planting is the beginning of seeing. He puts seeds into the soil and trusts that the invisible will one day become visible. In the same way, your imagination is the field, and the images you hold are the seeds. Every time you imagine with intention, you are planting into your destiny. It may not look like much at first, just as a seed looks small, fragile, and insignificant, but hidden within that seed is the potential for a mighty harvest. A single seed of corn can yield hundreds of kernels. A single image of abundance can yield a lifetime of overflow. That is the nature of imagination. It multiplies what you dare to hold. Do not underestimate the need for persistence. Planting one seed and forgetting it may not bring a harvest. You must water it with repetition, nurture it with gratitude, and guard it from the weeds of doubt. Each time you rehearse the blessing in your mind, each time you replay the vision as though it is already real, you strengthen its roots in the unseen. The more you dwell on it, the more it grows, until one day it pushes through the soil of your reality and manifests before your eyes. Persistence is not striving, it is dwelling, inhabiting, and living in the end result until the end result becomes your environment. And here lies a powerful truth. Your imagination is not limited by your circumstances. A prisoner can be free in his mind, though bound in chains. A poor man can live in wealth within his imagination, though his pockets are empty. A sick body can still contain the image of radiant health. The imagination transcends the visible and reaches into the eternal. The moment you dare to imagine something greater, you are no longer bound by your current state. You rise above it, you walk in it inwardly, and life must eventually conform. Your imagination is not bound by time, space, or logic. It is a bridge to the unseen blessing that already exists. Consider a sculptor staring at a block of stone. To others, it looks like nothing more than a heavy, shapeless mass. But within his imagination, he sees the masterpiece hidden inside. He chips away at the stone, not because he sees nothing, but because he already sees everything. His hands follow the vision within. So it is with you. Others may not see the blessing. They may call you foolish for believing in what has not yet appeared. But if the image lives within you, you are already sculpting your destiny. The outer world will eventually reveal what your inner world has already completed. But you must be vigilant. The imagination is powerful, and whatever you allow to dominate it becomes your experience. Do not let fear write its images in your mind. Do not let anxiety play its movies across your inner screen. Guard your imagination with the same care a farmer guards his field from weeds. Every image you accept is a seed. Ask yourself daily, what am I planting? What am I rehearsing inwardly? Am I sowing pictures of lack or pictures of abundance? Am I watering visions of despair or visions of joy? Am I replaying failure or success? The harvest always reveals the seed, and let me tell you this, the blessing that is coming is always larger than the image you first held. You may imagine a drop, but the unseen blessing is an ocean. You may imagine a door, but God has prepared a highway. Your imagination is simply the doorway to align yourself with the reality that already exists. When you dare to imagine something greater, you are aligning your frequency with the blessing already prepared. Do not shrink your imagination to fit your past experiences. Do not limit it to what seems reasonable. Reason deals with the visible, but imagination draws from the invisible. The blessing you are called to manifest is not reasonable. It is extraordinary, so rise up and use the power you have neglected. Close your eyes and see it. Picture the blessing as though it is already yours. Feel it, touch it, live in it inwardly until it becomes your dwelling place. Speak from it, not toward it. Rehearse the end result until it feels more real than your current situation. For the unseen blessing already exists, and imagination is the seed that pulls it into manifestation. You are never without power, never without tools, never without hope. The seed is in your hand, the soil is your imagination, and the harvest is guaranteed if you do not faint. The question is not whether the blessing is real, it is whether you will dare to imagine it until it manifests. Plant the seed, water it daily, and watch as your life begins to reveal blessings bigger than you ever dreamed. Expectation opens the door. Expectation is the unseen force that swings wide the door of blessing and ushers in the reality you long for. It is not enough to believe in a vague sense that something good may happen. You must live with the conviction that it will happen, that it is already set in motion, and that you will not be denied. Expectation is the womb in which miracles take shape. What you expect, you invite. What you doubt, you repel. The blessing does not enter a life that is closed off by fear, pessimism, or resignation. It enters through the open gates of expectation. Your thoughts form the blueprint, your imagination shapes the picture, but it is your expectation that breathes life into the vision and draws it into manifestation. To expect is to prepare, to stand ready, to live as though the blessing is inevitable. Without expectation, faith remains an idea. With expectation, faith becomes a living power that calls unseen things into sight. Consider how expectation shapes every detail of your daily life. When you set a table for a guest, it is because you expect them to arrive. When you put on your shoes and walk to the station, it is because you expect the train to come. When a farmer plants seeds, he expects a harvest. Expectation guides behavior, influences preparation, and determines atmosphere. In the same way, when you live in expectation of the blessing, you prepare for it, you make space for it, you adjust your posture to receive it. Without expectation, even the greatest blessing can pass you by, for you were not ready to recognize it when it appeared. How many times have people prayed for opportunities, but when opportunities arrived, failed to act because they did not expect them? How many have asked for healing, yet continued to expect sickness? How many have begged for abundance while living with the constant expectation of lack? What you expect, consciously or unconsciously, will always shape what you experience. Expectation is not the same as wishing. Wishing is passive, expectation is active. Wishing says, I hope it happens someday. Expectation says, it is mine and I am preparing for it now. Wishing is weak, fragile, easily broken by doubt. Expectation is strong, rooted, and unshakable even when appearances say otherwise. When you expect, you begin to carry yourself differently. You speak differently, you think differently, and you walk with a confidence that others may not understand. To them, it may look like arrogance, but it is not arrogance, it is certainty. It is the assurance that the unseen blessing is already on its way, and you are simply aligning yourself to receive it. Expectation is like the key that unlocks the storehouse of heaven. Without it, the treasures remain closed off, not because they do not exist, but because you cannot access them. Many people believe vaguely in the possibility of blessings, but they do not expect them personally. They think blessings are for others, not for themselves. They see abundance, healing, and breakthrough in other lives, but secretly expect failure in their own. As a result, their lives mirror their expectation. The door remains shut, not because God has withheld the blessing, but because they refuse to expect it. The moment you begin to expect personally, the door opens. Expectation says, this blessing is not just possible, it is mine. This breakthrough is not just for someone else, it is for me. This healing is not just for others, It is for my body, my soul, my spirit. That kind of expectation cannot be denied because it aligns your inner world with the reality of the unseen blessing. Expectation transforms the atmosphere around you. When you enter a room expecting joy, you bring joy with you. When you enter expecting hostility, you carry tension. Life mirrors what you carry inwardly. If you expect rejection, you unconsciously act in ways that invite it. If you expect success, you move boldly and doors open. Expectation is magnetic. It pulls into your life the very thing you focus on. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you expect. You may want blessings, but if you secretly expect disappointment, that expectation will shape your outcome. You may want abundance, but if you expect to always struggle, you will sabotage opportunities that come your way. Wanting alone is not enough. Expectation is the doorway through which wanting becomes reality. But expectation must be nurtured. It is not a one-time decision. It is a daily discipline. You must guard it from the thieves of doubt and discouragement. Every time your senses try to convince you that nothing is happening, you must strengthen your expectation with inner vision. Every time your past whispers that things will never change, you must silence it with the voice of expectation that declares, "This time is different." To expect is to hold steady even when the outer world contradicts your inner knowing. A woman expecting a child does not doubt her pregnancy because the child is unseen. She prepares, she adjusts her lifestyle, she waits with joy because her expectation is greater than appearances. In the same way, you must live as one who is expecting, adjusting your words, actions, and mindset in alignment with what you know is on its way. Expectation demands preparation. If you truly expect abundance, you will create space for it. You will prepare your life, your habits, and your environment to handle the overflow. If you expect healing, you will begin to live as though health is your portion. If you expect promotion, you will carry yourself with the dignity and excellence of one already promoted. Expectation without preparation is empty talk. True expectation shapes behavior. It causes you to build, to expand, to prepare vessels for the oil before the oil even flows. When you live in this way, you are declaring to the universe, "I am ready." And readiness is the signal that releases the blessing into visibility. Do not confuse expectation with desperation. Desperation comes from fear. Expectation comes from faith. Desperation says, "I need this or I will perish." Expectation says, "This is mine and it is coming in perfect time." Desperation vibrates with anxiety, which blocks the flow. Expectation vibrates with peace, which opens the flow. When you are desperate, you chase the blessing. When you are expectant, the blessing chases you. The posture of expectation is calm, confident, and unshaken, for it rests in the assurance that what is promised cannot fail. Beloved, hear this truth. Your expectation sets the limits of your blessing. If you expect small, you will receive small. If you expect barely enough, you will live in barely enough. If you expect abundance, you will walk in overflow. The blessing itself is limitless, but it can only flow into the container you provide through expectation. A thimble cannot hold the ocean. A cup cannot contain a river. If your expectation is small, your experience will match it. But if you dare to expand your expectation, to stretch it wide, you will find that the blessing is bigger than you imagined. Do not limit the infinite with the narrowness of low expectation. Enlarge your vision, stretch your faith, and prepare for more. So rise today with the boldness of one who expects. Expect doors to open. Expect favor to follow you. Expect healing to flow through your body. Expect provision to meet you in surprising ways. Expect breakthroughs that shatter limitations. Expect joy that overflows. Expect peace that surpasses understanding. Expect the blessing to chase you down and overtake you. Live each day as though the blessing is already unfolding because it is. Your expectation opens the door, and once the door is open, nothing and no one can shut it. The blessing surpasses the logical mind. The greatest mistake you can make is to try to reduce the blessing of God to the limits of your logic, because logic deals with what is, while blessing deals with what can be. The logical mind observes facts, calculates possibilities, measures resources, and draws conclusions. But the blessing is not birthed from calculation. It is birthed from divine overflow. Logic says you cannot rise because you lack the qualifications, but the blessing lifts you into places where qualifications do not matter. Logic says the sickness is too advanced for healing, but the blessing renews flesh and restores life. Logic says you have too little money, too little time, too little support to build the dream, but the blessing multiplies loaves and fishes until the multitude is fed. The blessing is not constrained by numbers, reason, or mathematics. It is the very proof that you are connected to something higher than human ability. That is why you must stop trying to figure it all out with your limited reasoning and dare to believe that what is coming will be bigger, greater, and far beyond what your logical mind can conceive. Think of the times in your life when you thought you were finished, yet you survived. Think of the doors that opened when there was no explanation. Think of the moments you received help from unexpected places, favor from unexpected people, provision from unexpected sources. Logic could not have scripted it, yet it happened. That is the nature of the blessing. It is unreasonable, it is supernatural, it is divine intervention clothed in the garments of impossibility. When you understand this, you stop leaning on your own understanding and begin leaning on faith. The mind will always try to argue, how will it happen? Who will help me? Where will it come from? But faith silences those questions with one answer: it is already done. The blessing surpasses the logical mind because it flows from a higher dimension where time, space, and resources are limitless. Logic deals with what the eyes can see and the hands can touch, but the blessing draws from what is unseen. Logic says you cannot walk on water, yet Peter did. Logic says walls do not fall from marching and shouting, yet Jericho fell. Logic says barren women cannot give birth, yet they held children in their arms. Logic says slaves cannot become rulers, yet Joseph rose to govern Egypt. At every turn, the blessing has mocked human logic, proving again and again that when the divine intervenes, the natural must yield. This is why you cannot allow your logical mind to set the boundaries of your faith. If you only believe what logic approves, you will never experience the miraculous. The blessing surpasses the logical mind because it is not designed to fit within it, it is designed to shatter it. And here lies a beautiful paradox. Logic is often the enemy of expectation. When you believe for something great, logic rushes in to remind you of statistics, past failures, and impossibilities. It whispers, no one in your family has done this. People in your condition don't succeed. The odds are against you. If you listen, logic will chain you to the familiar, keeping you small, confined, and predictable. But the blessing laughs at statistics. The blessing does not ask permission from the past. The blessing does not consult the odds before arriving. It comes in ways no human mind could have orchestrated. It brings opportunities that make no sense, miracles that defy natural law, and breakthroughs that silence every critic. When the blessing appears, even those who doubted you will be forced to admit this was beyond logic. The logical mind thrives on control. It wants to know every detail, map every step, and see every provision before moving. But the blessing requires surrender. It requires walking by faith, not by sight. You may not see the whole staircase, but you are asked to take the first step. You may not see the resources, but you are asked to begin building. You may not see the outcome, but you are asked to trust the process. This is where many stumble, for they want the blessing to fit within the framework of their reasoning. But if it could, it would not be the blessing. It would be human achievement. The blessing always carries an element of surprise, a dimension of awe, a measure of glory that leaves no doubt it came from God. Think of a river flowing through the desert. Logic says the land is dry, barren, and incapable of producing fruit. Yet when the blessing flows, water springs up in unexpected places, and suddenly the wilderness blooms. Such is the nature of the blessing in your life. It makes a way where there is no way. It creates opportunities in barren places. It calls forth abundance from wastelands. You cannot explain it, but you cannot deny it. That is why the blessing is described as pressed down, shaken together, and running over. It is more than enough, beyond explanation, and overflowing past boundaries. This is why you must train yourself to release logic when it contradicts faith. Logic is useful for planning, for organizing, for stewarding resources, but it must never be allowed to dictate the size of your belief. If you let logic lead, you will only aim for what seems reasonable, what seems attainable, what seems safe. But the blessing is not safe, it is abundant. It does not aim low, it aims high. It does not give you just enough to survive, it gives you more than enough to thrive. If you only pursue what logic allows, you will miss what blessing has prepared. Logic says, save enough for yourself. Blessing says, overflow enough to bless others. Logic says, prepare for limitation. Blessing says, prepare for overflow. Logic says, this is impossible. Blessing says, all things are possible. And here is the secret. The blessing surpasses the logical mind because it was never meant to be understood. It was meant to be received. You do not need to know how it will happen. You only need to know that it will. The how belongs to God. The yes belongs to you. When you try to reason out the blessing, you will shrink it down to human size. But when you release the how and embrace the promise, you make room for something far greater. Do not try to calculate the path. Simply prepare for the arrival. Do not limit the blessing to familiar channels. Expect it to come from unexpected places, for often the blessing arrives through people you least expect, through opportunities you did not plan, through doors you did not knock on. Beloved, the blessing that is coming will not make sense. It will not fit neatly into the box of logic. It will not follow the script you wrote. It will surpass it. It will overflow it. It will astonish you with its magnitude. And when it comes, you will know without doubt that it was not by your calculation, not by your reasoning, not by your striving, but by divine grace. So release the need to understand every detail. Release the pressure to calculate the path. Release the chains of logic that keep you bound to the ordinary. Lift your eyes, open your heart, and prepare for the extraordinary. For the blessing surpasses the logical mind, and when it arrives, it will carry you into a reality greater than anything you could have ever reasoned, imagined, or planned. Preparation aligns you for the overflow. Preparation is the evidence of belief, the silent language that declares to heaven, I am ready. It is not enough to pray for blessing, dream of abundance, or imagine breakthrough if you are unwilling to prepare for it. Blessing flows into vessels that are made ready, not into lives that remain closed and unprepared. When you begin to live as though the blessing is already yours, when you arrange your world to match the promise, you create alignment between the unseen and the seen, and that alignment attracts manifestation. To prepare is to declare faith without words. It is the unseen act of planting rooms before the harvest arrives, of building nets before the fish are caught, of digging ditches before the rain falls. The preparation may look foolish to others, but to the one who knows the blessing is bigger than imagined. Preparation is wisdom, because overflow cannot enter a vessel that has not been stretched to receive it. Think of the woman preparing for a child. Before she holds the baby in her arms, she paints the nursery, buys the clothes, sets aside space in her home, and changes her lifestyle in expectation. She does not wait for the birth to begin preparation. Her preparation is proof that she knows birth is coming. In the same way, you must prepare for your blessing before you see it. If you wait until evidence appears, it is no longer faith. Faith prepares in the dark. Faith builds when no one else believes. Faith arranges the details when nothing in the present suggests change. The blessing is already written, but preparation is your way of stepping into its rhythm, of creating space for its arrival, of saying, I am not only expecting this blessing, I am ready for it. Without preparation, blessings can slip through your fingers, not because they were denied, but because you were not in position to receive them. Preparation is alignment, and alignment creates flow. When a river is blocked by stones, water cannot pass freely, but when the obstacles are cleared, the flow is inevitable. In the same way, preparation clears the channels of your life so the blessing can flow unobstructed. Many desire overflow but remain cluttered with fear, doubt, old habits, toxic relationships, and small thinking. They want new, but they have not made room for it. To prepare is to unclutter your life, to release what no longer serves you, to clear the space for something greater. You cannot pour new wine into old wineskins. You cannot host overflow in a vessel made for lack. Preparation enlarges your capacity, stretches your mindset, and equips you to handle the weight of what is coming. Blessings are not withheld because they do not exist. They are delayed because you have not yet made space for them. Preparation also sharpens stewardship. The blessing is not designed to crush you, it is designed to flow through you. If you are unprepared, abundance can feel like a burden rather than a gift. That is why you must grow into what you are asking for. If you pray for financial overflow, are you preparing by learning how to manage it? If you desire promotion, are you preparing by cultivating discipline, excellence, and integrity? If you ask for healing, are you preparing your body with better choices and a lifestyle that sustains wholeness? Too often, people cry for blessing without preparing to sustain it, and as a result, they fumble what was placed in their hands. Preparation ensures that when overflow comes, it does not overwhelm you but elevates you. It turns blessing into lasting fruit rather than a fleeting moment. Do not despise small beginnings, for small beginnings are training grounds for larger blessings. The way you handle little is a rehearsal for how you will handle much. If you are faithful with little, you are proving yourself ready for overflow. Preparation begins in the small, unnoticed moments, in the discipline of saving, the habit of gratitude, the practice of diligence. Each small act of preparation is building the structure that will hold the blessing when it arrives. Overflow cannot pour into broken foundations. It requires structures strong enough to hold abundance. When you prepare daily, quietly, faithfully, you are building the container for your future blessing. And when the day of overflow arrives, you will not be surprised, because you will already be living as though it were real. Preparation is also a declaration of seriousness. The universe responds to those who are intentional, who prove by action that they are not merely wishing but believing. Words may say, "I believe," but preparation shouts it louder. To the one who prepares, doors open faster, opportunities align, and resources appear. Why? Because preparation is faith in action, and faith in action magnetizes the unseen into manifestation. If you prepare for nothing, you are declaring that you expect nothing. But if you prepare for abundance, you are signaling that you are ready to handle it. Blessing does not come to the casual dreamer. It comes to the one who prepares diligently. Preparation also stretches your imagination. When you begin to prepare for a blessing greater than you imagined, you start to think beyond limitations. Preparation forces you to expand your vision. If you are preparing for a house, you must think about furniture, colors, and arrangements. If you are preparing for a business, you must plan systems, staff, and structures. If you are preparing for healing, you must envision yourself walking, running, living in freedom. Preparation is not passive. It requires thought, detail, and imagination. And in that process, you grow into the reality you are preparing for. Your mind catches up with your promise, and your soul aligns with your destiny. Preparation is never wasted, even if it looks delayed. Sometimes you prepare, and the blessing seems to tarry, but every act of preparation is shaping you, teaching you, and building capacity. The waiting season is not empty, it is formative. It is training you to handle what is coming. Do not despise the days of preparation, for they are sacred. They are the womb in which destiny is formed. A seed does not sprout the day after it is planted. It spends time hidden, building roots, preparing for the day it will rise. So it is with you. Your preparation is not in vain. Every prayer, every detail, every step you take in faith is adding weight to your vessel so it can carry the abundance when it arrives. Beloved, understand this. The blessing is bigger than you imagined, and without preparation you cannot hold it. It will not just meet your need, it will overflow. It will not just fill your cup, it will pour until it spills over. If you only prepare for enough, you will miss the abundance. That is why you must prepare not for what you see, but for what you do not yet see. Prepare for more room than you think you need, more provision than you expected, more opportunities than you can count. Expand your vision, stretch your faith, and make your vessel larger. The oil did not stop flowing for the widow until there were no more vessels. The blessing will not stop flowing until your capacity is reached. So prepare vessels as many as you can because overflow is on its way. So rise today with intentionality. Clean the clutter from your life. Build habits that reflect your future, not your past. Make space in your environment, in your schedule, in your heart for what is greater. Stop living as though you are small when heaven has decreed you are destined for overflow. Walk into every day as though the blessing is already unfolding, because it is. Preparation aligns you with the blessing, and when alignment is complete, manifestation is inevitable. Do not delay, do not shrink, do not hesitate. Prepare boldly, for the blessing that is coming will exceed your imagination, and when it arrives, it will fill every vessel you prepared and more.